through the three major expulsions of Palestinians that contribute to Israel's ethnic cleansing of the indigenous Palestinian people, seeing as how we're witnessing one right now in Gaza with more than 1.5 million already displaced. A lot of people are calling this the second major displacement when it's actually the third. So the first one happened in 1948, where more than 750,000 were displaced. This displacement is what us Palestinians call the Nakba, which means catastrophe in Arabic. This was the year that the British, who were colonizing Palestine at the time, officially created this settler colony called Israel. Land was split into three major zones: the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and Israeli territories. In order to establish the Israeli territory, they essentially had to ethnically cleanse the entire land of the natives. Israeli terrorist gangs went to the Palestinian villages one by one, massacring families, bombing houses, setting towns on fire. Some Palestinians survived, some fled their villages before the militia reached them. A lot were also told by the colonizers that you guys need to leave your villages right now for safety, and then once this fighting is done, you can come back. They began helping escort these Palestinians out of their villages, and then once the Palestinians were gone, these Israeli terrorists moved in and stole their homes. So over 750,000 fled either to the north in Lebanon and Syria, to the east in Jordan, or to the south in Egypt. And then some were displaced internally, moving to Gaza Strip or the West Bank. From this point on, Egypt managed Gaza Strip and the West Bank was managed by Jordan. Then 19 years later, in 1967, the second major expulsion occurred, where more than 300,000 Palestinians were displaced. This expulsion us Palestinians call the Nakba, which means setback. People tend to know more about the Nakba in 48, but not so much about the Nakba in 67. This was during the Six-Day War, where the neighboring Arab countries attacked Israel, attempting to reclaim the land back for the Palestinians. And because Israel was backed by the West, predominantly the US, Israel ended up winning and took control over the West Bank and Gaza. Obviously, it was not a peaceful invasion of the West Bank and Gaza, and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced to leave their homes. By the end of it, more than 20,000 Arabs were killed by Israel and the West. So the Nakba in 48 and then the Nakba in 67, which brings us to present day 2023 with the genocide of Gaza, where Israel has so far displaced more than 1.5 million Palestinians in Gaza Strip. More than 70% of the population forced to leave their homes, making this the third and I believe the largest expulsion of Palestinians in history. Mind you that this is 1.5 million people displaced within Gaza, within a 25-mile strip of land. They're not fleeing to lands that are safe. They're fleeing within Gaza, which is all being bombed. So they're just making circles, trying not to get killed, which is different from the two other expulsions where a lot of them were fleeing to land that was safe, like Jordan, Lebanon, or Egypt. Now, as a result of the expulsions that have occurred in the past, there are nearly 7 million Palestinian refugees or descendants of refugees around the globe right now, excluding the Palestinians who actually live in Palestine. 7 million of us, including me and my family. The vast majority of those 7 million Palestinians are denied the right to return to Palestine. Many of us are not able to travel there because the settler colony of Israel only gives citizenship to Jewish citizens. Also, note that these were the three major expulsions. That doesn't mean that there was nothing happening between those 3 years. Outside of those 3 years, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed, kicked out of their homes, forcibly expelled from their land through processes like home demolitions based on anti-Palestinian laws, settlement expansions through land theft, or even Israeli settler terrorism where these innocent civilians are kicking Palestinians out of their homes, clearing out entire communities and entire villages of Palestinians. All of these events, including these three major expulsions, are all part of Israel's greater plan to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from the land. Every time an expulsion occurs, whether in small numbers or in big numbers, Israel gets that much closer to establishing an ethno-state, a country strictly for Jewish people built on the land of Palestine.